Hello, and welcome to episode 37 of the Extreme Hardware Podcast. I am here today with my man Frick, my man Jack, and Chris, I guess.
What? Yeah, hi, I'm allegedly here. I don't want to be here. It's not like the podcast specifically, it's just generally.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a mood as of late. But anyway, we've got a few fun articles. We actually do have a continuation of an article from last week, as I alluded to. And let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. This first one is in regards to Apple and Tim Sweeney. Drew, why don't you go ahead and just talk about this one?
I have no idea.
What do you mean? You're the one who gave me the link.
Oh, yeah, I just read like one line from the emails where he said Apple are affecting Android customers or something, which is clearly a copy and pasted email that he sent to Google as well and just forgot to change Android customers to iOS customers.
Yeah, so it says, so according to TechSpot last week, we already know about the Epic versus Apple versus Google thing going on right now in regards to how microtransactions were being handled for Fortnite on both the iOS and the Google apps, and
the Google App Store and the iOS Play Store.
Yes, yeah, let's run with that. So on, I don't see a specific date, but Apple lawyers have published personal emails from Tim Sweeney directly to the Apple.
These are from June 30th. There's a big database of them on ScriptD and the filing. Oh gosh, June 30th. Yeah, this goes back a while.
Yep, but no, the like this was made public just within the past week. So,
oh well, yeah, that's different. But yeah, no, like the whole free Fortnite thing. The fact that they had an entire damn CG ad prepared means they were definitely planning this for a while. They were counting on it happening.
Yep.
Well, they knew it was going to happen.
But I think one of the more comical things about this is that we're seeing direct emails from Tim Sweeney himself rather than a legal team. And there's quite a few typos associated with this, as Drew's alluded to. For one, specifically stating that Apple doing the bad things is going to be harmful for Android customers. And a few other strange quips. Hold on, let me pull up the actual...
I mean, strictly speaking, that is true. What Apple does is not harmful to Android. Well, I don't even care. See, the thing is, a lot of this, I just can't really engage with because I don't care. It's a billionaire getting in a pissing contest with $1 trillion corporation.
Cynical just sounds completely checked out at this point.
I mean, really, like, I hope Epic wins because of knock-on effects in the rest of the ecosystem. For example, did we post a thing about WordPress getting in trouble with Apple? Apple was blocking security updates from WordPress and said that they had to add in-app purchases or some nonsense.
Oh, what? Is that true?
They reversed that.
They backpedaled, but only after a lot of publicity.
And
I didn't hear about that at all.
just for funsies, since you mentioned they're $1 trillion company, they're not $1 trillion company anymore. They're now worth $2 trillion, so they're a multi-trillion dollar company.
Yay.
$1 trillion.
Wow, that's a meaningful difference, Frick. That's not even half an order of magnitude. Shut up.
Dude. Yeah, I know. You know what? The funny thing is, I mean, you say that in jest, but to be honest with you, if I had $1 trillion and $2 trillion, I honestly couldn't tell the difference.
I mean, yeah, that's correct.
I wouldn't know what to, like, oh no, now I have to spend this in 20 lifetimes instead of 10? Oh, gee.
So one specific pair of emails that I'm finding really entertaining was dated on August 13th from Tim Sweeney. Dear the legal team here, including Tim Cook, apparently, I'm writing to tell you that Epic will no longer adhere to Apple's payment processing restrictions.
He just straight up said it. Okay, so yeah, no, he baited them.
Today, Epic is launching Epic Direct Payments in Fortnite and on iOS, offering customers the choice of paying in-app through Epic direct payments or through Apple payments, and passing on the savings of Epic direct payments to customers in the form of lower prices. And then the follow-up email, hello, Epic Games team. We have determined that your app is in violation of the guidelines.
Yeah, it turns out when you say that you're going to violate the guidelines, you might be violating some guidelines.
And then the follow-up email, August 14th. Upon further review of the activity associated with your Apple Developer Program membership, we've identified several violations of the Apple Developer Program license agreement.
Gee golly, who could friggin' imagine?
And that is the last email that was exchanged between the two of them. So yeah. Basically, Tim just straight up was like, "Nope."
Yeah, I don't think this will make up.
Yeah, I just want Epic to lose because it's Epic. I don't like Tim.
They're acting very non-epic right now. Not epic at all.
They're pretty cringe, bro.
No, it's just because of that video that they put out, and Tim Sweeney still thinks most PC gamers are pirates out of choice.
Yeah.
Oh God, they did say that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Wait,
Which is
when did
really
he say
funny.
this?
Here's the thing. I want to
years
get
ago.
mad at Epic, but then I remember they made Unreal Tournament. So I'm like, I gotta let it pass.
Oh, who cares?
I mean, Unreal Tournament, though.
I mean,
you should get mad at them. Who cares? Like, it's a corporation. They don't care about you.
Yeah,
They
and the
would
people
kill
that
you
made
for
Unreal
20
Tournament
bucks.
probably aren't there anymore.
Right.
And
No,
they're
Tim-
neglecting the new one like crazy. So
It was made by Tim Sweeney and Cliff Bleszinski, and Cliffy B is gone, but Tim's still there.
yeah, he keeps making things that fail.
Me IRL. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, but let's face it. If you still want to play Unreal Tournament 2004 still has several hundred to 1,000 members on Steam playing concurrently right now. So
And 99 Game of the Year is still really active as well. And there's mods for it, so go ahead.
oh, absolutely.
oh, hey! I just killed a gnat, and I just realized we forgot to clap.
I hate you.
I clapped.
Thank
Oh,
you.
by the way, Andrews, do you like the good boy I put for you? You
I
and,
do, yes.
He's a very good boy. You should save that to the documents there.
I hurt my wrist doing the clap.
Oh yeah, I need to move copy my documents folder over to my laptop.
You're a very good boy. I love him.
I'll put this dog on the thumbnail.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have very distinct smells too. The Basset Hounds, very oily dogs.
Oh, yeah. Very, very drooly, very oily, and they sound like. "Ooh."
They're just wet animals. Yeah, I met a dog today. Her name was Lucy, and she was a little dropkick dog, and she got angry at me for reasons that I don't understand.
All right.
She just started growling at me. She started growling at me, so I glared at her, so she started screaming her little head off at me. I don't know if she realized that I could have just, picked her up and yeeted her into traffic. I would not do such a thing, because that would be mean, and even the demon dogs are ultimately dogs, so they're nice, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't get an opportunity to pet a dog today.
But you got
I
to.
did.
That's close enough.
Well, you can pet the dogs because they can't get the flu, right?
No, it's more that was a growly beast, and I didn't want to anger it.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've still got teeth.
Okay, so moving on to the next article here. So in a new patent filing, apparently Sony is looking at utilizing liquid metal as the TIM on future consoles, which means that everybody thinks that liquid metal will be used in the PS5.
That's not what patents mean at all.
Yep, I know. But I still think the patent is worth talking about. So according to a Google translation of the patent, it says, in the semiconductor device of patent document 2, instead of grease, a metal that is liquefied by heat during operation of the semiconductor chip is used as a heat conductive material between the semiconductor chip and the radiator.
Oh, hang on.
was
Is
that
this
an
like
issue with
if it's turning into a liquid, does that mean that that's going to be like gallium or something? I mean, you wouldn't want to use that because gallium is just going to like eat through everything. Like gallium is nasty and reactive.
Gallium? Isn't that the stuff that people like put in their hands and like melt at room temperature or something?
Oh yeah, I mean it won't like react with you because elemental metals tend not to be that toxic.
If you put gallium on a sheet of aluminium, leave it for a while, you can punch straight through it.
Yeah, like it's So I think the part of this that can actually be patented because, like, what the heck? They can patent using liquid metal? Well, that's just ridiculous. I think the part that's actually novel is that they're sealing it in the console with a, quote, ultraviolet cured resin. I don't think this is liquid metal like the thermal paste that you put on your CPU or something, but rather literally a metallic element that turns into a liquid when it gets warm.
Oh.
Like we're dealing with an actual phase change.
So that's the thing is like, it doesn't seem like they're trying to go for like a gallium, or sorry, not gallium, a Gallon-Stan alloy. So
that's
which is
the one, yeah.
It's
Wait,
gallium.
how
It's
is this?
Gallon-Stan stands for gallium, indium, and I believe tin.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is always liquid.
Yeah, the Latin word for tin is stannum, I think, which is why it's the symbol for it is SN.
So is this going to be pretty expensive to implement?
I mean, probably yes, but I think what's interesting is because like the biggest issues is like, especially since some revisions of the PS2 and then the PS3 especially, they had issues with is they had such a high density electronic components in a very small package, and overheating tended to be a problem in certain
360 had the same problem.
And
about small packages.
No, that was only really a problem with, well, not just the consoles, but all electronics in general. They got hot back in those days when lead solder was banned from being used, and the solder was used in replacement would just melt.
Lead-free solder wasn't quite good enough, and everyone just assumed it was drop-in replaceable. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
wasn't. It's fine now.
That used to be, it was so bad back in the day when the 360 launched and it was getting the red rings of death. People used to do something called the towel trick, where they would wrap the console in a towel and heat it up so much that all that stuff would reseat and it would start working again.
I mean, that's just baking your GPU in an oven.
It works.
Same concept.
It works.
Oh, sure.
See, I never understood what the point of that was, and I always called people idiots for wrapping their red-ringed Xbox 360 in a towel, because then some people also use a damp towel to do it.
But didn't the first few batches of the 360 have such a high failure rate? Something like 96%.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it cost Microsoft billions of dollars. Billions.
They lost some money replacing all of them.
The fact that they even came back to the console, I mean, if you think about it, the Xbox brand has got to be like a lost leader for them, right? Like, I mean, YouTube is cool.
If you think about that console generation, though, Xbox came out in 2005, PlayStation 3 came out in 2006, and there was a global recession in like 2007, 2008, 2009-ish. Like, nobody was really spending as much money on, non-essentials like entertainment. So you ended up with just not very good revenue for console manufacturers. In addition, you had like Sony, where at the time, the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market was the PlayStation 3. Like a standalone Blu-ray player would have been like $1,000. So a lot of people just got a PS3 instead.
Yep.
And sure, they play games, but they didn't necessarily buy games, and since they rely on software, well...
Oh, and that was actually why my family justified the purchase of a PS3 over an Xbox 360 at the time, because when we looked at the tech specs, it was like, oh, hey, it's a Blu-ray player, and the Gen 1 PS3 also had a traditional laser player in it, so it was reverse compatible, and...
if I remember correctly, I mean, I know the 360 supported HD DVD, but wasn't that an add-on? Like, it didn't do it out of the box. You needed to buy a new optical drive.
Yeah, it was something like that. And
that was stupid.
And that was when Microsoft was betting on HD DVD being a thing.
Yeah, that didn't go so hot.
No, I
just like how it took a long time for Sony to break even with the PS3. I think they broke even in like 2011.
Right.
Yeah, but they still won that generation. Well, okay, that's not true. The Wii won, but still.
So real quick, in regards to the failure rate of the console, so I did find a report done by Square Trade back in 2009. So
we don't talk about 2009. Moving on.
But according to this, for the 3 popular consoles of that year, the Wii, the Xbox 360, and the PS3, the Wii had a failure rate of 2.7% out of a sample size of 16,000 consoles sold. The Xbox 360 had a failure rate of 23.7%.
Oh, that's bad.
And,
oh my god!
And the PS3 had a reported failure rate of 10%.
Yellow light of death.
Yeah, yellow light.
Yep,
but it's still that.
So
the PS3 had so many revisions too, because I think like the very first generation ones was the PS3, but also an entire PS2 on the motherboard.
That's correct.
And then the later ones ditched that and went to just software emulation of PS2 games, and then the last gen ones just like dropped it entirely, like no more.
Well, there was one that had Linux compatibility as well, but they took that out in the next revision.
I think that was software rather than hardware.
Yeah, it was. It was entirely software based.
Yeah.
That's why I think PS3s with software version, I think 2.8 or older, are more valuable, is because you can still install Linux on it.
Yeah, and weren't actually, Simmons, you can tell me this, weren't there a bunch of like folders used like linking together PS3s for folding?
Well, okay, so that's 3 things. So let me cover the first 2 things first, and then I'll get to that one.
Now that you've done Frick.
So
I brought folding up.
It wasn't folding; it was something else. But so the PS3, my personal story with the PS3 overheating. So because there was a common trend of the PS3s overheating, and it was basically due to having your PS3 oriented horizontally instead of vertically. So thermal. Just thermal properties would cause the heat to just exhaust.
Oh God, that's right. Because like people were just putting these in cabinets, not really thinking about heat, because older consoles didn't really have that much of an issue with heat, but they had just gotten so hot. Oh yeah, that's bad.
So the solution was to stand it up on its side. But what a lot of people were doing was, including my family, is we had one of those external coolers that would strap onto the side of it. Nice, but we found out later that that's what caused our original yellow light of death, because all the cooler was doing was cooling down the temperature probe for the fans.
Yep. Oh yeah, you told the story. Yeah, we cooled down the thermostat, but nothing else.
Right. So there was that, and then the second story was. Oh, shoot. What was it? Oh, yeah, with the PS3 reverse compatibility. So we did have a Gen 1 PS3. Though it basically had an entire PS2 in it, they did something interesting with the graphics upscaler, because they upscaled certain games very well and certain games very poorly. I distinctly remember we would play a lot of Medal of Honor European Assault as a party game with me, my brothers, and a bunch of buddies. And that game actually upscaled to 720p very well, but it was also very prone to just random freezes. And then there was another game where I tried to play Ratchet and Clank, the third game. And
Ratchet and Clank, the third game. Give me a moment.
It was called Up Your Arsenal.
Nice.
I like the names that they have for that series.
That game upscaled very poorly. It actually looked worse than playing it on the PS2.
Yeah. Upscaling be like that.
And also, it ran at a lower frame rate, which is really strange. So,
I mean, wait, was that with just native hardware?
Yeah, and it was. And there was just certain games that ran really well and looked really good, and certain games that just ran like ass. So,
Jack is currently trying to convince me, just as an aside, because this is more important. Jack's trying to convince me to get Comet Lake instead of Ryzen 3000, and I think he's right.
So
I don't want him to be right.
I do have one last PS3 thing, and then we'll move on. But in regards to the PS3 clusters, so I think what you're referring to is when basically the Air Force purchased a couple hundred first gen PS3s, and they linked them together to make a very affordable supercomputer.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think the U.S. military was doing a bunch of stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and actually this sort of links back to the PS5. Originally, when the PS3 launched, it didn't have any rumble to it. And Sony was kind of it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. They were marketing Rumble as a last gen feature. They were like, the next gen doesn't need Rumble.
Oh, crap, I remember that because we bought a bunch of controllers and then we had to sell them and then buy new controllers.
Yeah, right.
No, I remember that. It was the motion controllers built into the DualShock 3, and they said the rumbleness sort of messed with it. So it didn't have it until a few years later.
You know what else you can? I mean, like I have great memories of Rumble on the PS2.
I bet you do, Chris.
If you are playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and you turn on perfect rail balance and you grind on something, then the controller in a loop, so you just keep going forever, then the controller starts rumbling.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
What did you do with it, Chris?
What did I do with the controller? You don't need to know that, Andrew.
That is not safe for this podcast.
You must know.
No. Real quick before we move on. I do want to talk about what's going on with the PS5's controller, which is kind of interesting. So
I do actually have that linked.
Say again?
I do have that linked here. Let me move that up.
Oh, do you? I didn't see it on here.
It's right here.
Where? Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, well, you know what? This relates to it because if we're talking about the old controllers, the original PS2 controllers had pressure-sensitive buttons, and they were never used. They were used for like a couple of games and then like completely ditched for the PS3 and the PS4. But now...
that's not
triggers.
No,
so what's coming back with the new controllers there, Simmons?
No, Frick, you're wrong. I had a PS3 and I had a PS3 controller with it, obviously. And that did have pressure-sensitive buttons, not including the triggers.
Which ones?
The DualShock 3, like all of the buttons.
Oh, no. I'm talking about
all analog.
I'm talking about the 6-axis one, not the DualShock one.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't have one of those.
Yeah, 6-axis never had it.
Correct.
Yeah,
anyway, because they basically traded the analog feedback system for the 6-axis motion control. But
the DualShock 3 still had the 6-axis motion control that was never used.
The DualShock one did, but the DualShock one, but not 6. But no, go on about this new PS5 controller there, Bucko.
Okay, so regardless of people's opinions on it, I still think it looks good. Moving on, one of the features that they're talking about adding is a lockout feature for the analog sticks, and you might be asking, what the hell is the point of this? So a game director for Deathloop says that they want to utilize this feature that when your gun jams in game, it'll lock the analog sticks momentarily.
Actually, this is what I wanted. This is what I actually wanted to ask about before we started recording for now.
Does
it like physically lock the sticks, or is it just...
Yeah, it looks like from the sounds of it, it's changing the resistance. Here, the excerpt from the article, the game director for Deathloop said, we will... Oh, wait, sorry, wrong paragraph. The creative director for the upcoming Ratchet & Clank explained that, quote, the adaptive triggers are something we're excited to feature in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. For instance, the Enforcer is a dual-barreled shotgun-type weapon. As you pull the trigger, you'll fire from one barrel, and you can feel resistance around halfway down the trigger. Need a bigger blast? Pull the trigger through that resistance point, and you'll fire both barrels at the same time. So, yeah, what they're doing is there's some ability for software to add resistance to the controller so it can do different things. You could have like a car where the throttle behaves differently under certain situations, or maybe the brakes. Oh, hell, that's a thing that just like the PS5's fancy new controller will let Gran Turismo 7 players feel the ABS.
Yeah. So in the I put a little article quote there, but the director of Gran Turismo 7 says they can use this for an anti-lock brake system, where they say a typical anti-lock brake system releases pressure intermittently while the driver applies pressure to the pedal. The adaptive trigger is suited for recreating this pedal feel, and it will allow the player to accurately feel and understand the relationship between the braking force they want and the tire's grip. And then when you combine that with the fact that you're going to have like directional vibration with the controller, it's going to be totally different, because right now all the vibration in the old PS4 controllers and everything up until then has kind of been like localized in one place, and you've only really been able to like adjust the sensitivity of it. But now that you can like move around what direction it's coming from, and you combine it with these adaptive triggers, it's going to be pretty cool.
Actually,
Greg, have you considered, though, that what's even more realistic than that is an actual racing sim setup? And what's even more realistic than that is drunk driving?
Oh, yeah.
No, the like ABS feel in like an actual racing sim setup, you are not going to get that for cheap.
No. Yeah,
I know they exist because I looked at getting one, specifically the Club Sport V3 pedals from Fanatec. Those are like $400-$500
just for the pedals.
Isn't it like the best-selling wheel, like some Logitech wheel that came out like 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, Logitech G25. G27. The G27 is the G25 with better motors. The G29 is the G27 with no difference. And Logitech released a new wheel, which is the G29-3 or something, which is no difference.
Yeah.
So at this point, for $400, you're buying a wheel that's 10 years old.
Yep.
15 years old, actually.
Yeah.
No, but like here's the thing. Like with my purchase of the T300 RS, the only haptic feedback you get is from the wheel itself. So the pedals, you have no active feedback. And like he was saying, you're going to be spending a pretty penny just on the pedals. Like it was like $400 for my T300 RS and pedal setup, and you're going to be spending that price on an additional set of pedals.
By the way, that's actually really cheap. If you want to get into the really high-end things for sim racing, just the brake pedal from, I forgot the name of the company, but it's like $1,400 just for the brake pedal.
Anyway, guys, while you're talking about this nerd stuff, I'm looking at dog pictures on the internet, and I gotta say, my favorite genre of dog pictures is the one where the collar tags are visible in the image, and the person's like phone number or home address are visible.
Oh, Cat did that once by accident here.
Yeah.
And now we have her phone number.
Yeah, that's funny.
So,
what are you going to call the dog and see if they pick up?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Rick, it's the dog who picks up the phone.
I'd like to speak to the dog, please.
Okay.
My favorite genre of dog video is the one Frick just posted of tiny dogs being lifted by balloons.
I hope they caught him.
Yeah.
Don't do it outdoors.
Bye-bye.
You have to wait for the balloons to pop, and then doggy goes squish.
Then he'll fly for real. For a second at least.
So, moving on to our next article. So, there has been a recent Micron leak. Allegedly, the NVIDIA RTX 3090 will be shipping with GDDR6X.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
No, we did not. This just came out.
No, the date on the article is August 14th. I swear
I did not see this in our docs before I nuked it, so no.
It sounds familiar to me too, and I edited it.
Okay, moving on.
I don't remember because I was very drunk.
Yes.
Yeah, I was also drunk.
So that's not news. Just like this next article really isn't news. So I put this in here just because I want to get mad at it. So NVIDIA's new marketing scheme is apparently Ampere is going to be released on either August 31st or September 1st. Why I think this is bullcrap is because a countdown timer is not valid marketing. Get out of here with your hype train. Nobody cares except for gamers.
Purchase the product. Pre-order the thing. If you buy the thing, then you will be happy, Simmons. I want to be happy. I'm going to purchase the thing.
I did that and it doesn't work.
Chris,
yeah.
I know I've already mentioned this for the past couple of weeks, but regardless, I'm waiting for this to launch so I can get a 2080 for cheap.
You think the product somebody already consumed?
I'm watching eBay auctions like a hawk. I got that camel page up.
Okay, so
I'm probably
Simmons. Why are you so bad at buying computer hardware?
What are you talking about? Okay, name a bad computer hardware purchase that I made aside from the 1900 RX or the 1900X.
Well, you're gonna buy a 2-year-old GPU soon.
Yeah.
That's
really dumb.
And I'm still running a 1080p setup. Like, I really only want RTX for Minecraft RTX. So.
I mean, same.
Your terrible case that looks like a speaker from 2005.
Hey, that wasn't, Andrew, be nice. That wasn't purchased. That was lovingly handcrafted.
Correct. And
see, it's funny when I say it like that because that makes it sound worse.
Yeah. So like honestly, the only thing that like the only real purchase that I'm looking at making in terms of like a legitimate upgrade is for that system alone, because I found out it's not a 4670K, it's a 6600K. But
Ooh, Skylake, very fancy.
yeah. But needless to say, I am especially in VR games, I'm definitely noticing a lot of CPU bottleneck. So I need to increase my CPU. And in the meantime, when I do that, I need to actually like permanently modify my standoffs on my power supply, because it's basically the power supply is bolted to the roof with a plastic spacer and a metal washer just loosely sitting on top of the power supply that I have to very carefully line up in order to make it work.
Yeah, I opened Simmons's tiny PC and a screw just kind of fell out, and he had to spend lots of minutes trying to find it.
well, so not only did we spend a lot of time trying to find it, I figured out what it was. It's actually one of the motherboard screws.
Oh.
And it's the one.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It's ITX. It's got 4 of those.
Yeah, so it's the motherboard screw that is up near the I/O plate on the top left. So it is like the most inaccessible in my build.
Nice.
So like I have a couple things to fix when I do eventually replace the motherboard. But yeah, I need to find a good mini ITX solution that will, under peak loads, not draw more than 240 watts on the CPU.
Yeah, you should upgrade to a 10700K.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just if you can get a 9900K, that'd probably be better, just because ring bus weirdness.
Well, no. My big concern is the power spike, because
it's really not that bad. So the thing is, I mentioned earlier while I was being bored. So yeah, Jack's been trying to convince me to get Comet Lake instead of Ryzen 3000. And Simmons, if you look at like real world power numbers, a 10900 only uses about 50 watts more than a 3900X under real-world loads. However, under a power virus load, such as Prime 95, the difference is about 100 watts. So when people say, oh my god, Comet Lake is so hot, like, yes, it's hotter than Ryzen. However, in order to actually see, like, massive differences that are probably meaningful, you have to like try. Like Prime 95 with AVX switched on, that's actually going to be a problem. Regular old video game, no, not really.
Sure.
So I wouldn't write it off just yet.
Right. Yeah, it's just because my biggest concern, right, is like, because when I try to look up power numbers, nobody does a really decent job of actually like measuring like fifth percentile or
it's stuff like, we measured from the wall with our kilowatt, except the kilowatt samples like once every 2 seconds or something for extended periods of time. Because
like Chris, I gotta be frank with you. When I built my tiny system, that was when I was still using the 400 watt power supply, which had two 12-volt 16-amp rails. And the moment that I booted PlanetSide with the undervolt overclock,
it just like transient spike killed it.
It would trip OCP. So I would have to. So then I had to do the power supply shell swap with the 500 watt variant, which has two 24-amp rails. Like this is a server power supply. This was not intended to be utilized. And then, of course, my dumb ass was just like, hey, what happens if I just take 12 volt from the various rails and combine them? No, that's a really bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm using right now? A Seasonic Focus Plus 550 watt with a engineering sample 10900K and a 2070 Super, and it's just fine.
So, Simmons, something else. I think like the only website that actually really really did a good job testing GPU power. Tom's Hardware had a good setup.
Right.
Where they actually isolated, as far as I understand, they isolated the wiring and measured all that. Like, I've considered getting a PCI Express riser and just like snipping some cables and sticking some shunts on it and just seeing how much power is it actually using. I could not care less about like the power delta from the wall like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not meaningful. Like, okay, yes, sure, this means things, but Does it really?
Yeah.
What test did Johnny Grew do before he got acquired?
What's
Sorry,
that?
repeat that. We had two people talking.
Yeah, did Johnny Guru do any of that on his site?
I mean, he didn't really do GPU reviews, so I don't think so.
For power draw and stuff, he never did anything like that.
I mean, why would he? He didn't review those kinds of components.
No, he just stress tested power supplies. He didn't really, see what the components drew from the power supplies.
I mean, hell, if you're testing power supplies, you're just going to have like Minifit Junior or Molex or whatever to resistor.
Also, keep in mind that my limitation in the system is absolutely the power supply because it's a Flex ATX server power supply. It was the only one that I could find that had a minus 12 volt rail, which was required for Z170 to post.
Wait. Flex ATX excludes minus 12 volt?
Typically, yes, because in servers it's not required for posting.
But that should just be standard ATX, shouldn't it? Like
No. If you start looking at like when you power supplies, they omit certain sense rails. So
I'm going to take a look at this. Okay, hang on. I found the first power supply on Newegg.
And then also the other thing to throw out there: this is the only 80 plus silver power supply that I've ever considered owning. So there's that. When I was building this thing, there was a couple of individuals who were looking at making little adapter boards for these Flex ATX power supplies, but they just never came to fruition because the R&D was just too much for a hobbyist.
Yeah.
It was a challenge to get this, and then when I finally found this power supply, I got the 400 watt variant, and then when I got the 500 watt variant, the PCB standoff rails, which I'm using to secure the power supply, were drilled out because a lot of idiots were doing what I was doing, but would strip them out and then file warranty claims. So they just drilled it out.
Nice.
Which swap.
Simmons, also, speaking of fun Flex ATX power supply adventures, the one in my desk computer, what did I do to it? Oh, yeah. The fan was annoyingly loud because it's made for 1U servers. This is the one that I swapped out with a Noctua fan. So I tried 3 different times, I believe, to order a 40 millimeter by 20 millimeter PWM Noctua fan from Amazon, and apparently they just got a batch of fans that had like the wrong stickers on them. So they were what I got were the 10 millimeter fans, but they had all of the barcodes for the 20 millimeter fans on them.
God damn it.
Yeah, it took a while. I just ended up saying after the third one, okay, screw this. They're not going to send me the right thing. Yeah. So I just returned it and went ahead and got the non-PWM one. Well, I don't really need PWM, but it's like, if I have the option, I might as well. It costs as much money. I can repurpose it later, whatever.
I was going to say, the dumbest thing that I did with my power supply adventures was I accidentally shorted out the fan controller on the 500 watt variant. So
yeah, don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah, no, because the issue was for some reason the fan that came on the power supply was reverse wired, so the red was actually the negative. And
no!
And when I wired in the Noctua fan, which I found out it was too thin, so all the static pressure was just being lost to the hole in the power supply. When I then was soldering in the what was it? It was a noise blocker fan, which I'm still using. I accidentally touched the 2 leads together. It killed the fan controller, so then I had to re-add a Molex connector back to the or to the power supply. Yeah. I'm not smart. So anyway,
actually, how about this? The power supply on my desktop, I was getting annoyed by the fan because I got this thing back in like 2013. It is very old, but like the bearings in the fan started making noise. So I decided, no, I don't want to deal with this. So I got a Noctua fan and I 3D printed a few adapters, so I could have like a fan that's quiet, and it's installed. It's great. I bought it an adapter so it would plug into the power supply, and I realized, oh, hang on, there's a funny smell coming out of my computer now. It turns out my power supply cannot actually power the Noctua fan that is in it right now for whatever reason. So I just have a couple of wires like running out a little notch in the power supply. Did I cut that? I think I cut that notch myself with a dribble. So that's just plugged into some external cable. It's not the motherboard because I was worried about that, but I really need to retire this power supply. I'm scared to use it now.
How long does an average power supply last? Like 7, 8 years?
Depends on what you
15.
mean by how long it lasts. Because if you have, let's say, a kilowatt power supply, in 10 years, if it's a good quality unit, it might still be putting out a kilowatt. Or it might have degraded to a point where it can't do the entire kilowatt, but it might be able to do like 800 watts just fine. Because capacitors do like wear out over time, for example.
Yeah.
Especially the lower quality the can style caps.
Yeah.
Oh no, I only use military grade capacitors. So
Grade?
Wow, military grade. They sold it out to the lowest bidder. Good job.
my Japanese military grade capacitors.
Okay.
Tons.
Is that in a aircraft grade aluminium case?
Yeah, that's most of it.
So I'm going to go ahead and transition to this next article. We don't actually have a link for this one because this actually sparked from a conversation between Chris and Jack at one point. And
But it's not an article, you dumb turkey. I'm sorry.
Turkey boy.
that's what I'm saying. It's not an
Turkeys
article.
are people too.
But
No, you said it doesn't have a link, but you said it was
correct. Yeah, it might as well be an article because so this actually stems from a conversation that Chris and Jack were having at one point.
Yeah, we had it 2 weeks ago when I was really depressed. Axie can confirm that I was depressed.
Yeah.
But so anyway, the context of this one is specifically the ATX motherboard form
Factor.
the form factor. The validity of the future of the ATX form factor. But I'll go ahead and let you get started on this.
Yes. So this is actually kind of inspired by some of my shitposty ideas that I've gotten. So I know Simmons is familiar with it, and I'm pretty sure I've sent it to Jack. Actually, I'm pretty sure I sent it to Jack when we were talking about this. So there are a ton of mini PCI Express and M2 adapters that are just controllers, stuff like SATA controllers, network controllers, whatever. So you have these tiny little 1 inch by 2 inch little board mounted cards, or like M2 is 22 by 80 millimeters typically, or 22 by 30 for some. You've got these tiny controllers because, well, they don't need to be big, right? Like, computers have moved from parallel buses to serial buses. You don't need a whole lot of wires. Electronics are just generally smaller and more integrated now, which means you don't need massive ISA cards to stick like through-hole passive components. You've just got a bunch of SMD components if you even need them. So you've just got like all of this miniaturization, and the end result is, well, do we really still need ATX? Because, and I don't just mean like the full size, 7 expansion card slot ATX, because we haven't needed that in ages. Like, honestly, I think almost everybody could get away with like DTX, right? The 2-slot version. But like everything's so integrated, it's like nobody really has discrete sound cards anymore. You've got your onboard sound, or you've got a USB DAC if you really want something nice. Onboard graphics, they're good enough for most systems. Discrete graphics, obviously you're going to want to have that sticking around. Storage, you're probably not going to be using a RAID controller. Motherboards have plenty of SATA ports. It's just that kind of thing. There's really not a whole lot of need for expansion cards, and the expansion cards that you're going to use don't need to be big. Let's see, what was it? It's IBM PC AT, right? That was the first one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
The IBM PC AT was released in August of 1984. It is 36 years old now. This is where ATX traces its lineage from. There's really no reason to have this kind of thing. And even if we look at ATX, like, AT evolved into ATX, but even then, that's 25 years old now. And it hasn't fundamentally changed. Like, some voltage rails have been removed. Like, -5 volt doesn't exist anymore, for example. -12 volt is probably on its way out, but it's fundamentally unchanged.
So I'm curious as to what the issue is. It's not necessarily the form factor, but it's more so the way that the layout is designed that you're having issues with.
It's more that it is big, but it does not need to be big. We do not need motherboards that are this size anymore because we don't need all of these expansion cards, and electronics are integrated enough that like ITX is fine. MATX, frankly, is too big for most purposes. I mean, even if you want to have like a socketed CPU, it's fine. I guess ultimately the point is that ATX existed at a time when computers not when computers were different, when electronics were different. And like, we don't need full-size add-in cards anymore. And like, my thought is something that would replace it would be something like...
I remember you were talking about like M.2 size graphics cards. And stuff like that.
Not necessarily. Like, obviously, full-size add-in cards are not going to go away anytime soon. Like, hell, CPUs and GPUs are both getting hotter and hotter. Like, server CPUs are breaking 200 watts consistently now. GPUs are breaking 300 watts consistently, and that's at stock settings. So I do not see any reason to get rid of, like, certain big boy adapters for, like, server-type hardware. But, you know, that's for your servers, that's for your workstations. For, like, the PC, you're looking at things like NUCs, and even for, like, the custom PC market, you can really get away with a lot of this stuff on, like, M2 cards. Like, the shitposty thing that I mentioned, right? There is an M2 2280 card with a SATA controller on it and 5 SATA ports. And you just plug it into an NVMe SSD slot because, well, it's just a PCI Express card. It's just small because it's compact. So you don't need that massive card that's like perpendicular to the motherboard and bolts into the case and is just bigger than it really needs to be. That's I guess that's really the ultimate point to it. It's just big. And it doesn't need to be big anymore. And I remember Axie said that, like, part of the reason for ATX being the way that ATX is because that allows the expansion cards and even the motherboard and, like, the slots to be part of the structure of the case. Like, that's kind of providing rigidity, but yeah, it's kind of dangerous.
So now I'm going to get Jack's input on this.
Yeah, if I have input about this, I remember when we were talking, I was going on a thing about I feel like a lot of things in the ATX platform are designed around hands and humans.
Yeah.
And it's maybe they don't need to be anymore. Maybe things could be a little bit smaller. Maybe... I don't know, maybe motherboard manufacturers, instead of nickeling and diming us on USB ports and other things like that, maybe the customization could come from the motherboard itself. That's the computer when it comes down to it.
That's going to have some problems because now you have to have like custom order or lots of different SKUs for every different configuration. But in that case, I guess you end up with like NUC, but there's a lot more SKUs. Yeah, basically. I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to be like sell a motherboard with an embedded storage on it and only the parts that you need. Yeah.
I mean, there's only so many variations that could come off of the chipset for, you know, USB ports and other things. I mean, it's not unlimited or anything.
But even then, when ATX was standardized, the reason that like you have the CPU power connector is because CPUs were using 5 volts, right, for a very long time. And it was only when they got higher powered that they started using 12 volts because, well, higher voltage means you need less current for the same power. And that's good because the power connectors can only handle so much. So once 12 volt became more common, well, yeah, you can get hotter CPUs. But now, as CPUs are getting even hotter and GPUs are getting even hotter, why are we still stuck on 12 volts? Why do we not have 24 volt DC? Why do we not have 48 volt DC powering these things? And then you get stuff like, for example, the 12VO ATX offshoot, right? Where the only voltage is 12 volts. And that's the only thing being supplied to the motherboard, and every other voltage is being dealt with on the board itself. Yeah. So maybe that's the way to go.
Well,
I don't know.
Wasn't there research being done recently into, not getting away from 12 volt, but doing a pure 12 volt power supply and then just breaking that out to a system?
Yeah, that's 12 VO. Even then, like 12 VO is not that novel a concept because thin ITX boards, for example, are standard ITX, which is ATX derived. They're powered usually by one of two ways. Either they have a barrel jack on the rear IO, so they can take like a laptop charger type power supply, or they have a 2-pin Molex connector. So like, half of your CPU power connector, well, a quarter of your CPU power connector near that jack. They're wired up to the same place. You just choose one depending on what kind of system you're dealing with. And you power them like that, but every other voltage is handled by the board. So they usually have a SATA power port coming off it, for example, for powering a couple of hard drives or one hard drive and an optical drive or something. But, the voltage is handled on board. And in fact, they can usually take a wide range of input voltages. Like, I think the thin ITX boards that I have go up to 19 volts because, that's just a standard thing to do. And really, it's already dealing with regulating voltage, right? It's got to do that. So what's the harm in allowing a wider input range as well? NUCs do that also. I think NUCs can take like 12 to 19 volts. I need to triple check that before I try anything.
In regards to like critical system components, because the CPU is primarily powered by 12 volt, the GPU is powered primarily by 12 volt.
No. Strictly speaking, the CPU is not powered by 12 volt. The VRMs are powered by 12 volt.
Okay, fair. Okay, but
yeah, that just made me think. Like, what if we let the whoever designs like power delivery for things, like, hey guys, what would be the best thing to give you so you could have the least amount of components on the board and the highest efficiency and the least heat?
Realistically, you could definitely get away with the thinnest traces if you used a higher voltage on the input side. The output side, though, is going to be that's not going to be able to be shrunk because CPUs operate at a certain voltage and MOSFETs can only output a certain current. So you're kind of stuck there.
Yeah, because you go like 12 volt into a CPU rail and then it comes out as like what is it, like 1.1 or 1.2 volts or something like that?
Well under 2 volts at this point.
Yeah,
that's safe to say.
But like, okay, so say we were to go with an entire 12 volt scheme. Is there anything that's truly reliant on anything less than 12 volt, like the 5 volt or the 3.3 volt rail, that is absolutely system critical at this point?
I think the only issue might be is if you tried to have like a ton of hard drives, although even then that would only be true of like laptop hard drives just because the motors are powered by 5 volt there. You really don't have a whole lot that you lose out on that can't be provided by other voltage regulators.
Exactly. Like if you because I'm looking at the future where the standard consumer desktop is all just CPU, GPU, motherboard, memory, and SSDs. So at that point, I don't see any reason not to go to 12 VO or something even a little bit higher, like 24 VO, where you could get away with a little bit more trace efficiency and stuff along those lines. And
also, actually using a higher voltage like 24 volt would probably simplify something like USB-C because USB-C can put out up to 20 volts. Except if you're doing that from 12 volts, like let's say you have 12 VO and USB-C with USB PD support, well, sometimes you need to use a buck converter. You need to start by using a buck converter at 5 volts. And then the device says, hello, I can take up to 20 volts. And suddenly, oopsie whoopsie, got to switch over to our boost converter now. Whereas if you just use 24 volts, it's just buck converter all the way down. The only kind of odd part of 12 VO is that there is no more 5 volt standby rail. It is a 12 volt standby rail, and 5 volt standby is what will power USB ports usually when your computer is turned off but still plugged in, like it's still receiving wall power. So you can do things like Wake on LAN or Wacom USB, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but couldn't that be handled like, say you had a 12 volt?
Oh, absolutely. You have 12 VO and you just have a voltage regulator that knocks it down to 5 volts. Like, again, it's not hard to do. It's just kind of unusual and maybe a bit more complicated than it needs to be, but ultimately it's fine.
So basically, the TLDR I'm getting from this, it's not necessarily the form factor. It's more so the power delivery and optimization.
It's not just the form factor.
Okay.
The form factor is a part of it.
The form factor is a part of it, but there is also, fundamentally, it is because electronics are more integrated. And that fundamentally, it's because electronics are more integrated, which means things such as power supplies don't need to have so many voltage rails because it can kind of be done on demand. Like there's entire chips for this now, like entire integrated solutions. You just like slap a couple of resistors on it and it'll work. And, controllers are more integrated. So we don't really need such big motherboards and such big cards. And
yeah, we're basically almost to the point where you have one chip for storage and one chip for the processor that controls everything.
I mean, hell, we already have one chip storage. Like my Surface Book, my Surface Pro, that's the one, is using one. It has an SSD. I can't remember if it's M2 or soldered to the motherboard, but either way, it's an NVMe SSD, and it's one chip. There is a controller, and there is flash, and I think there is DRAM. I cannot remember. And it's all in one package, and this particular SSD is available in sizes up to 1 terabyte.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, imagine Lakefield in desktop where everything is literally on the CPU. You got the storage, you got the memory, you have just friggin' everything right there.
Well,
do you need a big ATX motherboard in your desktop with
What
Lakefield?
computer was it? I think there was a MacBook where and this was a few years ago, even where the motherboard was about the size of a credit card. And I mean, maybe that's not so impressive because the Raspberry Pi has been out for ages, but this is an honest to God high performance x86 computer. And I don't know. I guess the difference between a Pi and an actual computer is that an actual computer has I/O, because Raspberry Pis have one USB port coming off the entire sock.
Yeah.
The Pi 4 is one PCI Express lane instead.
I feel like the biggest issue is obviously the transition to something that's not ATX would be a challenge.
That would be a challenge in the custom builder market. However, as far as OEMs go, it would not be hard at all to convince them, hey, this is cheaper. This will shave off margins. But
that's what I'm saying, right? Is because, yes, I know the OEM market is like the 80% majority of the computer market when it comes to relatively decent to high-end systems. ITX, I feel like, would be the easiest thing to adapt to because ITX is already, custom to the fact that it's tiny. And
I still think mini DTX is the way to go, just because you get that extra tiniest bit of space and you can have 2 expansion cards. Single slot GPU and some other thing would be incredible for so many systems, but those rat bastards aren't making them. So.
So there's the mini DTX form factor, which a true ATX revision could lead to something more like mini DTX, but also I could see micro ATX not necessarily as the full square form factor, but in terms of the four standardized expansion lane space available on that kind of motherboard would be making a comeback if ATX was no longer the standardized thing. And then that would also appease Tech Jesus, aka Gamers Nexus Steve, and many other of us who find the ATX form factor as not a form factor, and manufacturers need to
it's got to be standardized.
ATX.
Yeah, it's got to be standardized. SSI CEB is the way to go, honestly.
Well, just talking about the micro ATX thing and Gamers Nexus real quick. I just went through 2 different micro ATX motherboards in the past week, and yeah, this Asus one that I currently have installed is like, I can't measure it because I don't have measuring tape, but it's like longer or wider. I don't know what direction
I don't.
than the other one I have, to the point where it actually has screws where the other one doesn't have screw holes.
Yep. No, I mean, there's also the kind of pseudo standard Flex ATX motherboard. It's micro ATX. I believe it is 9 by 7.5 inches. So it's basically, imagine mini ITX, but it has 3 expansion slots. That's approximately what we're dealing with. I believe that is what is in my desk PC.
Okay.
Because, micro ATX is basically slightly bigger than mini ITX to full size 9.6 by 9.6 inch micro ATX. They all just kind of get labeled under that.
So actually, I want to touch on something real quick. You're saying that you have a micro ATX motherboard which is wider than it is long.
I mean that's what DTX is, like full size DTX.
No, as in like wider. I mean, as in the length from the I/O to probably where the 24 pin connector is.
Yes, that's the wide that I'm calling wide. Yeah.
I've never heard of that because I've only ever seen micro ATX as that square, that perfect square, and then you only get into the weird links once you go up to full size ATX.
No, I mean, Simmons, so, I mean, number one, there's a 3-slot thing, which is slightly narrower, but there is also DTX, which is ATX, but only 2 slots. I don't mean mini DTX, I mean DTX.
Oh, yeah.
9.6 inch width or height or whatever word is used, but there's only 2 expansion slots instead of 4 or 7.
Well, but yeah, because I feel like standard DTX is also more in the same realm of like the BTX form factor, which is a hot mess.
It doesn't exist anymore, thank God.
But anyway, unless you guys have anything more you want to input.
Yeah, really, we really need can we just make 3-slot mini ITX the de facto standard now for SFS stuff? Oh no, wait,
everyone should just move to ARM CPUs like Apple are.
Yeah,
their phone CPU single core performance is not far off a 9900K.
No, I'm pretty sure that ARM cores are beating x86 at this point in IPCs and certain workloads.
Oh no, it's really close. I sort of
it's not close. ARM is ahead.
No, I'm talking specifically about the CPU in the iPhone SE2.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, its single core performance is really, really close to the 9900K single core performance.
Yeah, no, it's ARM has made it. ARM is the next thing. Unless NVIDIA buys it, and then it's dead on arrival. One last thing about micro ATX. ATX needs to die, but also you can't really get good micro ATX motherboards. You can get good ATX motherboards, and you can get good ITX motherboards. But
that's a lie.
Micro ATX, good micro ATX boards are just so uncommon.
Okay,
let me say my thing first. Write your thing down in a notepad real quick because I got to rant about this.
All right, let's go.
I got it.
The whole reason that I got a B460 micro ATX motherboard with my Comet Lake was because it was better than every other single available higher chipset, like Z490 when it came to I/O and connectivity.
But that's on the MATX board, right? Not all motherboards of that socket, right? Yeah. Exactly. It's it's an MATX thing. A high-end MATX board compared to a high-end full ATX or ITX board is just they're just not usually as good. Mm-hmm. Either they kind of gimp the VRMs, or they don't have enough I/O. I remember back when I was looking for MATX boards several years ago, when I was upgrading to Z97, there were Z97 ITX boards that had built-in Wi-Fi, and there were Z97 ATX boards and even eATX boards with built-in Wi-Fi, but no MATX boards with built-in Wi-Fi. And this was true for actually every MATX board of every chipset and every socket. No built-in Wi-Fi whatsoever. It's they're just skimping. It's that's a feature on high-end boards, and that's a feature on small boards because, small boards kind of need that. But
I mean, we know that the decision process that motherboard manufacturers go through to put features on certain boards is driven by sales numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to get any better because gamers exist.
I mean, there's also kind of the feedback loop, right? It's like, well, if you don't put the thing out there, then people don't really... they are unable to... Yeah,
I can't vote with my wallet.
See, and that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is like the issue is if you want a half decent to like high end micro ATX board, you're going to be spending as much as you would be on a high end extra extended ATX board. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of ridiculous because it's like you're not going to sell as many of these boards because you're not producing these many boards. If there were more options, I feel like people would buy them because, quite frankly, not everybody and their mom has enough space to put a full fat tower on a desk.
Yeah, I think I accidentally convinced my dad that Nucks are really cool because I got my Crimson Canyon Nuck and I was screwing around with it. I just showed him the motherboard, just going over my idea for the Nuck rack. Which I need to. Hey, if anybody wants to give me $2,000 worth of Nucks, please contact me.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right.
Thanks, Andrew. But no, I accidentally convinced Dad that Nucks are cool because, you can just mount it to the back of the monitor, and effectively, it's an iMac, which is what he's using now and wants to upgrade from. As far as usability goes. It is similar to an iMac in the sense that it's just one thing sitting on your desk that you need to worry about, but also it's a standalone computer, so you can service it easier or you can do more things with it.
See, this is why parents need to enable their kids to be computer nerds so they can just do away with a bunch of individual computers in the house and just have a bunch of thin clients.
That's the dream.
Shut up. Chris, I'll give you $2,000 if you fill your Nuck racks with baby canyons.
Yes, baby canyon Nuck.
I would prefer Bean Canyon because those are quad core, but baby canyon's pretty good too.
Show me the beans,
baby canyon
dude.
is funny because of the name.
It is.
Well, I mean, Bean Canyon's funny because we need big beans.
Oh yeah, and then you just go back to that meme of that dude putting a bunch of beans into a computer and showing.
Hey! Does the Wi-Fi? Hey, Andrew, you shut up.
Shut up.
No, you shut up. I have a funny. So does the Wi-Fi in Baby Canyon support WAP?
No, we're not continuing this joke.
Yes, we are. It's funny, Simmons. Wireless access point is Wi-Fi standard.
That's actually a funny joke. Good job, Chris.
Okay, I'm moving on to Oculus now.
No. We can't do the beans because I was watching cartoon theaters eating beans.
Okay. Yes, we know, Andrew.
All right. Moving on to Oculus. So this news dropped the day after we finished recording, so that's why it kind of feels a little old to us. Time doesn't exist.
But time's not real. That's
so
fake news.
are you guys up to date with the biggest Oculus news?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's extremely funny and not remotely unexpected.
So 6 years ago, when Oculus was acquired by Facebook, the CEO at the time made a post on Reddit saying, "I guarantee that you will not need to log into your Facebook account every time you want to use the Oculus Rift."
That's wrong. You do now.
Yep. Andrew's talked about it.
Yeah, you need to log in with your Facebook account. If you don't log in by October for the first time, then you need to use a Facebook account. If you do, then you can wait until 2023.
Oh, so you still have to do it either way.
Yeah.
Or just grandfathering on old accounts temporarily.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave the WAP joke in there. That's pretty good. That's the only good Chris joke that isn't stolen from me.
Yeah. So
shut up, Andrew.
because that portion's going to get cut.
No, it's not. That's up to Jack.
The encouraging of moving on. So yesterday, as of August 19th. So on August 18th, Facebook announced that Oculus headsets will soon require a Facebook account to use. The policy change will come in effect on October 1st for Rift and Oculus Quest users. It will also be mandatory for every headset that Oculus releases in the future.
Yeah, it's not good.
Nope, it is not great. Everybody knew that this was going to happen, and the post from 6 years ago is that much funnier.
So actually, what ended up happening is when the announcement went live, the founder, Palmer Luckey, replied on Reddit in the thread, and he said, so I'll read a little bit of it. I'm already getting heat from users and media outlets who say this policy change proves that I was lying and consistently said this wouldn't happen, or at least it was a guarantee that I wasn't in the perception to make. So basically, he just goes on, in hindsight, the downloads from people with more real-world experience than me were definitely justified. He basically says, it's not my fault, blame Facebook.
So I have a question. Why does an Oculus Rift need an account in the first place?
Well, so I think it's more relevant with the Oculus Quest, because the Oculus Quest is a standalone platform.
It's because they try to launch their own store to compete with Steam. That's the only reason.
It's a head mount display. Why can I not just use the head mount display as a display that mounts on my head and play video games on it?
You can with OpenVR, but that's just it's terrible to set up. I tried to do it once, I gave up.
Great. Yep. So you need software for why?
Yeah.
Well, you actually needing software makes sense because it needs to track where you actually are, and it needs to show what you're looking.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Needing software is fine. You need drivers. That's okay. That is actually perfectly acceptable.
Why you need an account?
Why do you need it linked to there? Yeah. I mean, well, no. We all know why you need an account. It's Facebook.
Well, yeah. I'm guessing that's the only way that the things actually get installed and start up is because they're locked behind the EXE that is attached to the thing that requires a login.
Yeah, but it shouldn't require a login in the first place. Like
Steam do it as well.
Who's you to say that?
Why does Facebook
does have a point? Why do you need to log in for it to work?
There's no reason this can't run locally. Show me proof that they are doing server-side processing.
No, it does run locally.
Well, there you go. If it's only using local resources, it does not need a login.
Yeah,
and it does though, because you didn't make it and you didn't make the platform, and
Jack,
this isn't just a monitor.
No, Jack, shut up. You would absolutely deep throat a boot as long as it were a cool tech gadget. Like, shut up.
No, yeah, I'm just providing the other side of the argument for this because I literally don't give a shit about Oculus.
All right, Jack, there's two sides of this argument. I can shoot you in the face or I can not shoot you in the face. There's valid reasons to do either of these things.
Do you know how much dust is covering my Valve Index? A whole bunch.
Fair. I mean, that's actually a good thing. You can sell that for a pretty decent amount now, probably more than you bought it for.
Mine broke. Like the quality control on them aren't very good. Like I tried to take it off once.
No, you're just a drunk.
No, I wasn't drunk at the time. I was in voice chat, and it was a very loud bang in the voice chat thing when the plastic strap broke.
Oh, jeez. How big is your head?
Yeah, he broke his strap.
Well, his head's not as big as mine, so it's fine.
Yeah, I pulled it off so I could actually take it off, and the plastic just snapped.
Was this on the Index or was this on the Oculus?
It was on an Index. I've never had an Oculus.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Valve quality control for hardware isn't very good.
Yeah.
What? Really? Are they manufacturing through HTC or another person?
I don't know who they're manufacturing through.
Yeah, because I'm sure they don't have their own factory. I'm sure it's through some other third party.
Oh, no, they don't. I'm pretty sure it is HTC because if you look at the new Vive base stations and the Valve ones, they are identical.
Andrew, I do not like deepfake Ben Shapiro. Please make it go away.
No, it was relevant to the discussion earlier because of WAP.
Wow. And, moving on to the next article.
That's not right.
So tune in next week when Kim just beats the shit out of us.
Yeah. So I can't remember who added this to the doc, so I'm going to start reading it and hope that somebody jumps in. Microsoft warns Unreal Engine cutoff will lead to significant costs.
Oh yeah, this one is this about the Apple? Oh,
Yeah, it's related to Apple.
Yeah, that's why I linked it up there with the other thing in the doc.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Do you want to just run over this real quick then, Jack?
Truck.
I'm just gonna wing it. I'm not even gonna look at the article. Yeah, Microsoft is like, "Hey, Apple, you're bad," and they're like, "Epic, you're good." And
Microsoft
they're like,
is
"Stop
like-
being mean because gaming is going to be hurt by this."
Die, bad
And-
guys. You are all very bad guys. Bad.
Yeah, I like Microsoft. I like Windows 10. Buy it for full price. Don't use a key website.
All right, and then now next one. Oh, okay. So yeah, this was actually directly relevant to Andrews, and that's why I added it. So. So this article is headline: Steam users want Valve to extend the refund playtime for window for Microsoft Flight Simulator.
No, that's actually irrelevant. Valve did make an announcement that the download time, if you buy Microsoft Flight Simulator on Steam, does not count towards playtime, even though it does on the actual Steam thing. Because it took me an hour and a half to download the 100 gigabytes, and it said I had an hour and a half of playtime, and Steam said, or rather Valve said, no, that doesn't count towards the 2-hour refund time.
See, because the reason why I wanted to include this is because I didn't realize that this was what this was about. Just from one of the other sites that I was looking at, it seemed like it was just angry gamers reading because they didn't realize that Microsoft Flight Simulator is just a flight simulator, and they played it for a bunch of hours expecting something different to happen.
Oh no, that makes sense. No, I bought the new Flight Simulator game on Steam. It was like I think a 1 gigabyte download and install for the client. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as you launch it, it loads like a download page, which downloads 91 gigabytes, which if you don't have fast internet, will take more than 2 hours to download.
Oh my God, can you imagine, we've just taken the word simulator and it's turned into so much of a meme. Goat Simulator is really the thing that, Surgeon Simulator started it. Goat Simulator was kind of the end of it, where it stopped meaning anything. So, Flight Simulator, I bet this is a zany game.
It's an actual simulator.
Yeah, I don't think that's, actually a big problem. However, I could totally see somebody getting bamboozled by that.
You go into it thinking it's like Reskin Goat Simulator, where the goat is turned into a Boeing 747.
I would play that game.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad that that's what that's about, and that's actually a legitimate complaint, and not gamers being dumb about what a simulator actually is.
It does that's fine. If it was people complaining about the new Flight Simulator game not being Goat Simulator with a Boeing 747, then they're stupid. But no, it makes complete sense.
Okay,
it was that, and then combined with the fact that every time, and this is inevitable whenever you bring up Flight Simulator, there's going to be certain jokes that are going to be done almost immediately that they're going to see. I mean, what's the first thing everybody does when they put up Microsoft Flight Simulator?
No. Do you know what the first thing a lot of people did? And this wasn't an organized thing. They went to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Yeah.
Well, and then there was that one unironic article which turned into a big meme, which was the new form of cyberbullying is somebody buying Microsoft Flight Simulator crashing into their target's house and then sending them photos of it.
Yeah.
That's a thing you can do.
There's a really funny thing. Somebody was recreating a funny thing that some Saudi Twitter account did.
No, we can't talk about that.
It happened on Twitter, Simmons, and it's very funny.
No, we're not talking about that. I'm going to move on to the next article.
It didn't happen, Simmons. It was just a threat, so it's okay.
Oh, God, please.
I want to talk about Flight Simulator more. It's actually really good, because I know where I live pretty well from above, and I have tried to fly in the previous game, not including the one that everyone just ignores from Flight Simulator, which is the 2012 one, Flight Simulator 10 or X or whatever.
Yeah.
I could not do VFRs where I live because it was just too different.
What do they do for the game? Do they actually go around with like those Google Maps cars and like map every location, or how do they?
Based on big maps. So
And then they used an AI which will do funny things like turn they like turn glaciers in Greenland into 20,000 foot tall walls.
That happened.
Oh, and didn't they turn a couple racetracks into just apartment complexes?
Yeah. No, I went to Silverstone. There was actual like cars on the road like melted in.
So Andrew, did you do the thing that I asked if you would do, like just fly around, try to find train tracks and see if like any trains photographed on the tracks turned into anything?
I did, and no, they didn't.
Oh, that's too bad.
But yeah, no, the 2006 Flight Simulator game, you could not do VFRs. In the new game, you absolutely can, even in areas that aren't like handmade, like the AI made parts of the map.
I just really like how everything just turns into a 90s office building. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think, wasn't there a bug where like the Washington Monument just turned into an office building?
Well, Buckingham Palace is an actual like office building.
Nice.
The Buckingham Palace isn't one of the handcrafted cities like Seattle is.
I mean, I'm not surprised that Seattle would be in a Microsoft thing, but yeah.
So we are kind of running out of time in this recording. I want to just touch on this article real quick.
Yeah. The tapes are just spinning and they're getting low.
Yeah. So we will be doing an extras immediately after this. So don't worry, Chris.
Oh my God, we are.
Yes.
I'm going to be really drunk for that.
Yeah, I'm getting podcast juice so I can podcast the juice.
No, yeah, I want you to stick around for this one though. So
Nice.
So there has so the headline for this is a attack has been exposed, which has been using compromised Tor exit nodes to hijack cryptocurrency transactions.
Oh, I saw the headline, SSL stripping attacks. I just figured that this was going to be like, oh, yep, intelligence agency is doing the thing.
No, so basically this has been going on from January and was first made known in May within the cybersecurity community.
Yeah, if it's crypto, I don't really expect.
So basically, this operator known as Nusenu, the group managed to compromised about 380 Tor exit relays and was able to perform what they were calling SSL stripping attacks. Basically, they compromised these exit nodes and
Isn't
was
that just
downgrading.
a man in the middle attack, but you're polite and don't actually.
Correct. Well, because it's relying on the architecture that is onion routing, where you have just a bunch of routers that route and encapsulate.
I mean, like, doesn't the U.S.
Shrek is like the cryptocurrency.
What? Shut up. Shut up.
Okay.
No, Shrek is like a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I heard you the first time. Shut
Okay,
up.
Chris, go.
Go,
What?
Chris.
You were saying something.
I was telling Andrew to shut up.
Okay, so anyway, so basically what these compromised exit nodes were doing is they were downgrading the HTTPS state to a lower security level, and it was allowing the malicious group to decrypt the lower level encryption traffic, intercept the cryptocurrency transactions, and just take the money for themselves.
Lol.
It'd be like that. That's
Oh
how
my
it is.
God, people actually think Bitcoin is the money of the future. Could you imagine being that brain damaged?
Well, but that's the thing, right? Is like everybody, cryptocurrency does technically have a future as long as the technology continues to develop. Bitcoin is dead in terms of security.
Well, no, I mean, like, cryptocurrency is inherently flawed as long as the 51% attack exists.
That's
because the blockchain is valid as long as the majority of people agree that it's valid. But if one attacker can control 51% of the entire network, then that attacker controls all of the network.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, like, there are so many flaws that there is no reason to assume that it's valid. It's fake money. It's libertarian money that can buy illegal drugs, illegal guns, and illegal
Okay, thanks,
porn.
Chris. Moving on.
Oh, I should do that then. I want to
No.
get illegal things.
Okay. So this recording is taking place as of August 23rd, and I'm saying that because as of August 8th, the group with the compromised nodes states that there are multiple indicators that suggest the attacker still owns greater than 10% of the Tor network exit capacity.
Yeah.
And so a big problem right now, and it's not just this, because this is being combined with a bunch of darknet markets that are getting hit with DDoS attacks as well. So on top of all this, even if you manage to get into one of these markets past the DDoSes, the fact that you might get your stuff stripped away from you right then and there, oh boy, it's not a good time to be a darknet market right now.
Yeah, that sucks. Maybe stop buying illegal drugs, guns, or porn. Let's be honest. That is all anybody uses Bitcoin for. Beyond the people like me who just got in on NiceHash when that was still profitable, and then sold it for actual money that can buy things.
Yep.
It's worthless. You can use it for illegal things, but that's about it.
I'm going to invest all of my money in Bitcoin.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, it's basically for the it's investing in the illicit markets, which is funny.
I mean, the thing is, that's always going to be a profitable market, no matter what. So,
but actually, reading this last portion of the article, it does actually play into what Chris was saying, though, because this attack is actually a similar attack to one that occurred in 2018. Which allowed public web browsers to be able to access .onions through what they were calling Tor-to-Web exit nodes.
Fucking called it.
So yeah, and that's all I have to say on this one. Does anybody else have anything to add before we end this recording?
I would just like to say that Simmons is a huge buzzkill, and that I'm funny, and all of my jokes should be preserved as is.
Okay, you know what? I'm okay with keeping that.
Put in the actual Chris joke that isn't stolen from me.
Put Chris joke in the podcast.
That's my joke that I stole from Reddit.
All right. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you all for listening to this mess of a recording, and stay tuned for a very lively extras, which I'm sure
I'm gonna pee and get drunk. It's gonna be fun.
Thank you everybody for coming around. Thank you, Axie, who only popped in for about 15 minutes, and
he didn't actually say anything.
No, he did. I was talking about.
Axie did pop in, but Andrews kept talking over him.
That's probably why he left.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. Axie.
Axie posted a picture of himself squishing his dog earlier.
Ah, yes.
That included feet pics.
It did.
Oh, God.
All
Doge would enjoy that picture.
I would do anything for feet pics.
Okay, so thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.